Started out as an ecologist. It was started in basic science. I was interested in understanding the world around me, and kind of began my career sort of as an animal ecologist. By the time I finished graduate school, I had shifted to forests. I was interested in systems. I was interested in ecosystems, how animal and plant communities worked. And one of the main, that's really been a consistent theme throughout my career. I tried to understand, in this case, how forests worked. In a lot of cases, I was really interested in trying to understand, how do forests work when there aren't people there doing things to them? How do forests grow from being a young forest to an old forest? How do forest landscapes change in response to natural disturbances like fires, windstorms, floods? And how to, when we go out into the landscape of British Columbia, one of the things that impresses people is the old spectacular forests. And I was interested in understanding, well, how do they get there? What processes maintain them? What processes shape them over centuries and sometimes millennia? While I initially was interested in kind of looking at forests in the absence of people, another big theme of my career has been trying to understand the place of people in forests. And that reflects both an interest in kind of modern forest practices, how we manage forests, the good things about it, the bad things about it. And I'd say one of the second big theme has been using what we can learn about how forests work to do a better job of conservation and management, whether it's management for forest products, whether it's management for wildlife habitat, management for conservation purposes. And as well, as I came to have a more nuanced understanding of the history of forest ecosystems, there are very few forests around the world that don't have a history of people being in them and shaping them over time, and that includes the forests of British Columbia. My wife is an archaeologist, and since the late 80s, we've been working together, and so there's sort of for me, has been an important sub-theme of my research career, working with Daniel Lepofsky and various other people on issues at the intersection between people and forests, mainly Indigenous people and forests, both in the past and in the present. And I've learned a tremendous amount from that aspect of things that has both changed and enriched my kind of core of being an ecologist. For the last 10 or 15 years, there's been an important theme of what I've been doing has looked at forest policy, kind of going from forest ecology to forest practices to people in the forest to forest policy, and especially the role of climate change in impacts on forest ecosystems, impacts on what people can do in forests, what people can expect from forests, how diverse ecosystem services that forests provide will be changing in the context of climate change, and what we can do to help forests continue to support the diverse services that we get from them. And as well, I'd say my interests have grown in spatial scales and temporal scales. I've been interested in long scales of time in this interaction between people and climate and forests, as well as looking at whole landscapes and going from looking at individual trees to looking at whole watershed ecosystems. As we talk, we can talk about some more of those details, but that's sort of the broad brush of my career.